It is 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. It is the 13th day. Oh God, it's Friday the 13th, isn't it? Oh my God. It's Friday the 13th on this February 2026, and this is episode 1257 of Bitcoin and Binance. France CEO has been targeted in a failed home invasion. That's actually going to be our very last story of the day because I always put those stories last as a warning. Be careful out there, folks. Be careful. We are going to get into quantum resistance with BIP 360 and the new P2MR output. That's going to be out of Bitcoin Magazine. Kalshi's back in the news, this time with something called sports insurance. I've never heard of such a thing. We're going to find out together, unless you already know what the hell sports insurance actually is. The CFTC crypto heavyweights onto the advisory panel on this open market structure bill stuff. It's still being discussed. Trump with yet another unforced error. Oh my God, this guy. Please stop. Please stop giving your enemies ammunition. It's not healthy. It's just not. It appears that CG is rejecting some claims that Binance fired some investigators. It looks like they might be linked to Iran. Like Binance being linked to Iran. Was probably at one point or another, everybody's linked to Iran in some weird way. BlackRock, I don't know why they're saying this, but they're talking about if just 1% of Asia allocated money into crypto, it'd be a lot of money. It sounds a little, I don't know, it sounds a little weird to me, but maybe I'm just getting it wrong. Who knows? And then we'll see what else is up here. Oh, Brazil. Brazil is in the news. But first, we're going to start here with Bitcoin advances toward quantum resistance with the BIP 360 and a new P2MR output. Micah Zimmerman writing for Bitcoin Magazine. BIP 360, a proposal aimed at preparing Bitcoin for future computing threats, has been updated and merged into the official Bitcoin improvement proposal GitHub repository, marking a new step in efforts to strengthen the network against emerging cryptographic and quantum computing risks. I feel safer already. The proposal introduces a new Bitcoin output type called Pay-to-Merkle root, or P2MR, designed to support quantum-resistant script tree functionality while maintaining compatibility with existing TapScript infrastructure, according to a note seen by Bitcoin Magazine. Supporters of BIP 360 describe the proposal as an early move toward quantum hardening Bitcoin at the protocol level. A merge into the BIP repository does not signal endorsement nor future activation. BIPs are merged as part of the open process of documenting or discussing potential upgrades. Quantum computing has raised some serious concerns across the cryptography and cybersecurity fields because sufficiently advanced machines may be able to break widely used cryptographic systems. In Bitcoin's case, the threat centers on the possibility that computers could derive private keys from public keys that have been exposed, and that could lead to stolen funds. While all Bitcoin addresses become vulnerable when spending reveals a public key, some output types carry greater exposure than others. Taproot addresses, along with pay-to-public key outputs and reused addresses, are considered more at risk because public keys are visible on-chain. P2MR is conceptually similar to Taproot but removes a key weakness. Taproot includes a key path spending method that can expose public keys. The proposed P2MR output type disables that key path and commits only to the script path, reducing the surface area for potential attacks. The BIP's authors say that the proposal is meant to serve as a foundation for later upgrades that could introduce post-quantum signature schemes into Bitcoin, though follow on or through follow on soft forks. The note points to algorithms such as MLDSA or dilithium and SLHDSA as possible candidates. Quote, ultimately, the introduction of BIP 360 and P2MR is the first step of a larger set of quantum resistance proposals that will be necessary to quantum harden Bitcoin, said co-author Hunter Beast, a Bitcoin developer and senior protocol engineer at Mara. Beast added that the team is also exploring proposals to address vulnerable coins that are unlikely to move, including long dormant holdings. The latest update adds Isabel Foxen Duke as a co-author alongside Beast and cryptographic researcher Ethan Heilman. Duke, a technical communications specialist, said that the goal was to make the proposal understandable beyond the developer community. Quote, given the sensitivity of the subject matter, we aimed to ensure the BIP was written in a manner that was clear and understandable to the general public, Duke said. The proposal arrives as governments and major technology firms increase investment in post-quantum cryptography. The United States National Security Agency's CNSA 2.0 framework calls for quantum-safe systems by the year 2030, while the National Institute of Standards and Technology plans to phase out elliptic curve cryptography in federal systems by the mid-2030s. Supporters argue that BIP 360 aligns Bitcoin with a broader shift towards quantum-safe security standards, positioning the network to adapt as compute capabilities advance. So let's look at what was really fired up here. The National Security Agency and the National Institute of Standards and Technology want to phase out elliptic curve cryptography in federal systems. So the same signature construction methodology that's used in constructing our wallets and our private signatures, our private keys, is used at the federal level at the United States. And this goes back to what I was saying on several different occasions. If quantum computing breaks elliptic curve cryptography, it's not just Bitcoin that's at risk. All banks, all federal systems, all of it, everything is toast, man. I mean, even electrical grids being able to access, because for whatever reason we've decided to put electrical grids on the internet, or at least the accessibility of the governing systems around those grids on the internet, or at least accessible through the internet. For whatever reason we did that, it makes them vulnerable. Water systems could be vulnerable. I mean, it's like if we want to get into the wrap it in terrorist financing, Christmas paper for the gift, it is kind of distressing to think about the fact that all of this stuff will be compromised. And honestly, I don't have a problem with the people over at Bitcoin Core starting to look at how do we do this? What does quantum safe look like? How would it be integrated? What would making a transaction with quantum safe signatures look like? What would become of multisig? Yeah, all of these things we do need to start, and they have already started. They've actually been looking at this at Bitcoin Core for probably at least over a year, probably longer than that. What I get kind of funky about is this, when we express it as fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And this notion that, oh my God, it wasn't done yesterday. We haven't already finished this and we haven't already implemented it. The sky is falling. We're all going to die and Bitcoin's going to zero. That is not a healthy way to go about this. Still, though, if we weren't doing anything at all, that is just as unhealthy. I actually think that we're in a good place right now. So the FUD will not stop on quantum compute. But that does not mean that when you hear a story about what is actually being done by Bitcoin Core and other developers to at least figure it out, should not be taken in the same vein. It should just literally be, you should literally say, Well, at least they're doing something. At least they're starting to get their minds around it. And now I got to get my mind around something called sports insurance. Kalshi taps sports insurance market with Game Point Capital deal as regulatory battles mount. Vismaya V from Decrypt.co. Prediction market giant Kalshi has struck a deal with sports insurance broker Game Point Capital to hedge performance bonuses for professional sports teams, offering prices nearly half of traditional reinsurance, even as regulators in multiple states move to shut down its sports markets entirely. Kalshi CEO Tarek Mansour announced the partnership on Thursday, revealing that Game Point Capital had already executed hedges for two NBA teams through the platform last week. One covering a bonus triggered by a playoff berth priced at 6% compared to 12 to 13% in the over-the-counter market, and another for advancing to the second round priced at 2% versus 7 to 8% over the counter. Quote, exchanges are a better alternative because they expand liquidity and bring competition. Multiple counterparties compete in an open marketplace to improve the price, Mansour wrote. Quote, it might make more sense to hedge through Kalshi than through traditional channels, which might come with additional costs and fees. Will Hall, a co-founder and CEO of Game Point Capital, told Dealbook. Sports market accounts, or rather sports markets account for more than 80% of Kalshi's business, according to Dune Analytics, and the company is simultaneously fighting off attempts by state regulators to kill that business entirely. Courts in Massachusetts, Nevada, and Connecticut have all recently given regulators the green light to pursue temporary bans, arguing that sports-related event contracts are unlicensed sports betting under state law. Meanwhile, Polymarket filed a federal lawsuit on Monday arguing that Massachusetts lacks the authority to regulate its platform. Despite being rivals, Kalshi and Polymarket are now effectively fighting the same regulatory battle, and until recently, the sector's main federal backer has been the Commodities Futures Trading Commission, which has generally taken a lighter touch approach to oversight. CFTC Chair Brian Selig, a key ally for the platforms, announced that the agency will participate in ongoing prediction market lawsuits to assert federal jurisdiction and push back against those state-level bans. But the regulatory picture is getting more complex. On Thursday, SEC Chair Paul Atkins told the Senate Banking Committee that the Securities and Exchange Commission may also claim a role in supervising parts of the prediction market sector, pointing to possible overlapping jurisdictions between the two agencies. Yeah, what could possibly go wrong there, pal? Quote, prediction markets are exactly one thing where there's overlapping jurisdiction potentiality, Atkins said. Quote, a security is a security regardless of how it is, end quote. Institutional money is still flowing into the industry despite the turbulence, with Jump Trading securing small equity stakes in both Kalshi and Polymarket in exchange for providing market-making liquidity, with the two platforms currently valued at $11 and $9 billion respectively. Industry trading volume in the prediction market sector jumped from $15.8 billion in 2024 to $63.5 billion in 2025. Let's read that again. In the year 2024, prediction market sector volume was $15.8 billion. The next year, it was $63.5 billion. That is one hell of a jump. Good God. Anyway, that's according to blockchain security firm Certicay, which warned that incentive-driven activity and hybrid Web 2/Web 3 infrastructure create new integrity and security risks. Still, the firm said it has not seen large-scale evidence that wash trading is distorting prices on major platforms. All right, so it's really the first part that we're kind of interested in is this reinsurance. I really didn't realize that there was reinsurance on sports betting. And I guess in a way it actually kind of makes sense, because if something weird happens, like if you're a bookie and you're taking bets, and you just know that there is no way that horse number 5 is going to win that race, and you just keep making bets, and all of a sudden horse number 5 wins, and you don't have enough cash to cover, you're going to need some insurance. I had no idea that there was an insurance mark on Sportsbook. An insurance market on Sportsbook. It's kind of mind-blowing, although I don't know why I'm surprised. I guess it's just because I'd never heard of it before and I never put two and two together. But Kalshi, Kalshi and Polymarket doing this, especially Kalshi with Game Point Capital, that's really going to bolster their business model. And I don't like betting. I don't. If you do, I understand that, man. I get it. I wouldn't tell you to not go bet. But if you're somebody who is like, I've had friends that had gambling addictions and it didn't do them well. That's why I say the word, I had friends. Had. Past tense. One of them killed himself. Was it because of the betting? I don't know, but that fed into it, along with some other things, but the gambling didn't help because he was addicted to it. And this is out of Midland, Texas, y'all. The Permian Basin. It's not out of Dallas or Houston or New York City or Chicago or Kansas City or LA. No. This goes all the way down to like a town with, maybe 275, maybe 350,000 people. Regular people in the oil patch. And some of them have gambling addictions and it's so bad that it feeds into a general depression that sometimes results in them offing themselves. And I have had at least one that just flat ass killed himself. Please don't. Unless you really know what you're doing, or you have, for whatever reason, I always bitch about people buying the Lambos with their Bitcoin and say it's stupid. I should always say something about that. If you are a car lover, you love cars, you just can't get enough of cars, then yeah, I could see it. Because there's a love there. There are some people that absolutely love to gamble for whatever reason. I don't get it, but hey, so I'm not trying to say that these people suck or that they're, horrible people. They're not. They're just regular people. It's just that for me, gambling just is really, really risky. So just be careful out there, people. CFTC brings crypto heavyweights onto advisory panel amid the fight over market structure. Sebastian Sinclair, writing for Decrypt. The Commodities Futures Trading Commission on Thursday named dozens of senior crypto executives to its Innovation Advisory Committee, pulling much of the digital asset industry into its advisory orbit as Congress continues to grapple with unresolved questions in United States crypto regulation. The committee includes executives from, of course, Coinbase and Uniswap. Oh, by the way, BlackRock bought Uniswap. I need to get that in here. Hold on for a sec. Okay, I'll bring that here to you in a sec. The committee includes executives from Coinbase, Uniswap Labs, Ripple, Kraken, Robinhood, CME Group, and NASDAQ, among others, in an unusually concentrated show of industry participation for an agency that currently regulates crypto derivatives, but not spot trading. Established last month, the committee aims to provide the regulator with expertise and recommendations on innovation in financial markets. Chairman Michael Selig said in a statement on Thursday that the panel would help the agency, quote, future-proof its markets and develop clearer rules as technologies such as blockchain and artificial intelligence reshape the financial landscapes. Quote, by bringing together participants from every corner of the marketplace, the IAC will be a major asset for the commission as we work to modernize our rules and regulations for the innovations of today and tomorrow. Sounds like a pitch from the 1950s. It comes as lawmakers in Congress continue to debate the nuances of the Clarity Act, which seeks to regulate the U.S. crypto market by defining when digital assets fall under securities or commodities oversight. Specifically, the bill aims to clarify the delineation between the CFTC's oversight of digital commodities and the Securities and Exchange Commission's authority over securities like tokens. While that division has largely been accepted across party lines, lawmakers and industry participants remain divided over how the legislation treats stablecoins, particularly whether crypto companies should be permitted to offer yield on dollar-pegged tokens. It's an issue that has drawn sustained pressure from the banking industry and emerged as the bill's most contentious provision. Even as those disagreements fester, the CFTC has welcomed the addition of Coinbase's CEO Brian Armstrong to its committee. Weeks earlier, Armstrong pulled support for the Clarity Act, citing concerns over the banking lobby-driven limits on stablecoin rewards. The move complicated the bill's path in Senate, with Armstrong arguing the draft contained, quote, too many issues, including provisions that would restrict tokenized products, constrain DeFi, and limit stablecoin rewards rather than market structure jurisdiction. Let's pause. These are Armstrong's arguments, all right? He wants provisions that allow for tokenized products. He does not want decentralized finance constrained. And he wants rewards on holding stablecoins, i.e. yields. That should tell you where Brian Armstrong, where his loyalties lie. It's nothing about Bitcoin. It's about all this crap that goes around the crypto market. This is one of the reasons why if you're on Coinbase, get off. Get off now, get off, and never go back, dude. The move, or rather, Armstrong also warned that the legislation would erode the CFTC's authority. Oh, God. Arguing it risks stifling innovation by making the agency subservient to the SEC. So there's another part. Now, that one is actually kind of savvy. He wants the CFTC to clearly be in the driver's seat, basically driving this bus and not the SEC, because the CFTC basically has always had kind of a lighter touch on stuff, whereas the SEC, much more dangerous dance partner. Let's just say it that way. Now, I mentioned Uniswap and BlackRock. All right, so let's talk about this for a little bit. Uniswap token jumps following BlackRock investment as Buildle goes DeFi, B-U-I-D-L. Okay, Andre Bagansky has this one for Decrypt. Uniswap's governance token jumped on Wednesday after the decentralized exchange's creator announced an integration with Buildle, BlackRock's tokenized money market fund. The world's largest asset manager is enabling the $2.1 billion product to trade via Uniswap X. Uniswap Labs said in a press release, the protocol functions as a marketplace where professional traders bid to provide users with the best possible price. Uniswap changed hands around $3.84 on Wednesday, more than 13% of an increase over the past day, according to CoinGecko. Despite the jump, the token's price had still fallen nearly 29% over the past month, tumbling recently amid a broader downturn in the crypto market. So what happened here, and it's like, because we don't need to really get into the rest of this, it's just that Uniswap and BlackRock are in bed together, and that kind of surprised me. But I was looking at a graph of a chart of the token price, and it went freaking parabolic and then literally crashed right back down. It traded for over the course of a couple of hours, exactly like the shit coin it was. And even the announcement that BlackRock was getting into bed, however it is that they're doing that with Uniswap, it traded the exact same way that we're used to. A massive pump up, and then all the all the major bag holders just cut and run and left everybody else holding the bag. It was so funny, because you would think that a name like BlackRock would have sustained a larger price, but no. Shit coins are always going to be shit coins. They're always going to trade like shit coins. They are shit coins. Don't have anything to do with them. Please, please, please. If you got to buy a token, then buy something chocolatey from my friends at Bitcoin Beans, proof of cacao. Invest in your health like you invest in Bitcoin. Cacao is a nutrient-dense superfood. It's rich in magnesium, antioxidants, and theobromine for natural energy and mood support. They craft 1 pound blocks of 100% pure cacao grown regeneratively in Colombia, and you pay for it in Bitcoin. There's no chemicals, no fiat, no middlemen, just real food sourced with integrity and exchanged through proof of work. Chocolate is food. Understand that. If you eat a banana, do you regard it as candy? It is slightly sweet, especially the more riper ones. They do develop sugars, but it's not candy. And most people that you'll talk to, if you were to go out like just on the street and just stop somebody and be able to talk to them without them thinking you're weird, like a man on the street question, do you think chocolate is candy? I'll bet you 80% of them would say yes. At minimum, 80% would say yes. But chocolate isn't candy. And I think that's one of the reasons why the good people over at Bitcoin Beans choose the word cacao instead of chocolate. Maybe it is the case that if the way that people think about chocolate is that it's sweet, right? It's like, milk chocolate. It's got like all kinds of sugar in it. But that's not the way it comes. When you just get straight 100% cacao, no milk, no sugar, no vanilla added to it, nothing, just straight chocolate. It is a completely different animal than what you would go buy in the grocery store. God forbid, like a Hershey's bar, which is now actually more wax than it is actual chocolate solids. The people over at Bitcoin Beans know what they're doing. I've got a 1 pound block of chocolate. I've also got a bag of their cacao nibs, which is literally the fermented, dried cacao bean that's just been kind of slammed up against the wall and broken into little pieces. Not ground, not to the point where it, melts like chocolate. It's still pure chocolate. It's just in a slightly different, less processed format. Let's just call it that way. It's great brewing coffee with. I love brewing coffee with cacao nibs. This chocolate is one of the finest chocolates I've ever had. Yes, it's not sweet. This is why you serve it with something like, amazingly enough, cheese. You want to impress the shit out of somebody? Make a cheese board with some really good cheese. Put blue cheese on there. Put some sharp cheddar on there. Maybe even a couple of mozzarella balls. But then have a couple of chunks of unsweetened Bitcoin Beans cacao on that board. It'll blow your mind how well chocolate in between different flavors of cheese actually go. It also goes with a really heavy, jammy, chewy red wine. You can't do that with a Hershey's bar. Go to bitcoinbeans.co. bitcoinbeans.co. Use Bitcoin and in the coupon code to get 5% off of your purchase. It's beautiful chocolate and it's food, not candy. Trump with another unforced error. Trump Media and Technology Group files not one, but 2 new crypto ETF proposals following a Securities and Exchange Commission delay. Unforced errors. Daniel Kuhn writing this one for theblock.co. After a suite of crypto ETF proposals was delayed by the SEC, Trump Media and Technology Group Corporation is once again filing to list a Bitcoin and Ethereum ETF, according to an announcement on Friday. The firm is also looking to launch a Truth Social Chronos Yield Maximizer ETF that would track the native token for Crypto.com, the crypto exchange with a long-standing relationship with the Trump enterprise. Both funds will offer access to network staking rewards and use asset manager Yorkville America Equities as an advisor. Quote, "We are pleased to be selected to provide digital asset custody, liquidity, and staking services for these new Truth Social funds ETFs. Crypto.com CEO Chris Mazars, I can't pronounce his name, said, quote, these two digital asset ETFs have a strong value proposition that Crypto.com is supportive of and look forward to providing traders access to. Jesus, it's suit speak, but they didn't even try. So, that is the most meh suit speak statement I've ever read on this program. Trump Media and Technology Group, a bit of an umbrella company for the Trump family's many non-real estate related businesses, most notably the Truth Social brand, first signaled that it was getting into the crypto investment game last June when it filed a registration statement for a spot Bitcoin ETF. The firm partnered with Crypto.com in Yorkville to launch a suite of crypto-related funds and other investment vehicles designed to invest in the, quote, American exceptionalism, end quote. This included a Bitcoin and Ethereum fund and a crypto blue chip ETF tracking a basket of shitcoins, but also tracked BTC along with them. Although the SEC has notably sped up its approval process for crypto ETFs, the agency delayed deciding a number of proposals, including Truth Social's suite of funds in August. Only a handful of funds that stake their underlying assets have received any approval, and funds tracking small cap altcoins remain harder to list. If approved, Truth Social's new ETF would both have a 0.95% management fee. Purchases will be conducted by Crypto.com's broker-dealer, Forest Capital US. Trump Media and Technology Group has partnered with Crypto.com on a number of ventures. A forthcoming non-equity reward token for DJT stockholders may also tap the Kronos blockchain. Crypto.com and Anchorage Digital also support Trump Media's Bitcoin treasury. Oh, thank God Bitcoin's in here somewhere. On Thursday, Trump Media separately announced the deadline date for brokerages to submit information on DJT shareholders to receive the token distributions, and former California Congressman Devin Nunes left office in 2021 to become CEO of Trump Media and Technology Group. In December, TMTG announced that it was pursuing an all-stock merger with fusion power company TAE Technologies. Jesus, this web is just insane. Fusion, energy, shitcoins, ETFs, social media. Oh my God, it's insane. And these are all unforced errors. All this is going to come back to bite Orange Man right in the ass. Now, will it be a permanent bite mark and leave a scar? I don't know. Maybe he remains Teflon Don and people will shoot at him and the bullets will just bounce off him. Maybe. He may still retain Teflon Don, but we'll have to see. Let's run the numbers. CNBC, futures and commodities. What's energy doing? It's mixed. Brent North Sea is essentially moving sideways, but slightly in the green. West Texas Intermediate is down 0.14% to $62.75 a barrel. Natural gas is up 0.68% to $3.23 per thousand, and gasoline is down a half to $1.90 a gallon. Murban crude up almost a half point to $68.36. Metals are all in the green and ripping today. Palladium especially 4.76% to the upside. Gold is up 2.17% to $5,056. Platinum is up 2.8%. Silver is up 2.43 to $77.52, and copper is up 0.05%. Ag is mostly in the red today. Biggest loser is rough rice, 1.6% to the downside. Biggest winner is sugar, 0.87% to the upside. Live cattle is down 0.1 of a point. Lean hogs are down 0.5 of a point. Feeder cattle basically moving sideways. The S&P is up a quarter. The NASDAQ is up a half. The Dow is up 0.16%, and the S&P Mini is up almost a full point. Yeehaw. Bitcoin, $68,910. That is a $1.38 trillion market cap. And now we can get more gold, 13.6 ounces of our favorite shiny metal rock with our 1 Bitcoin, of which there are 19,988,610 and a half BTC. Average fees per block are normal, 0.02 BTC, taking fees on a per block basis. There's about 32 blocks carrying 17,000 unconfirmed transactions waiting to clear at high priority rates of 4 sats per VByte. Low priorities get you in at 0.8. 1.01 zettahashes per second. We are still in zettahash territory on the hash rate, thus the security of the Bitcoin network. From Unforced Errors, yesterday's episode of Bitcoin And, I got God's Death with 237 says, thank you, sir, no thank you. Mutum 8, hadn't heard from you in a while, pal. 212 sat says, just like Nancy Pelosi and others have done, crank it to 11 and get them into such a fomented rage that they pass a bill that forever prohibits elected officials and anyone closer than a second cousin to financially benefit from their inside knowledge and or influence, then quietly reveal that all that scammy crypto stuff didn't amount to much of anything. Nothing to see here. Move along. We not only need that, we really, and how, honestly, how would I enforce the following? I have no idea. But yeah, I mean, it's like all the way to the second cousin. Of course, like literally, so I'm Nancy Pelosi. I literally know everything that's going to happen because I sit on all of the committees. Well, I don't think she does anymore because she's retired or whatever. But when she was in full force, she knew everything. And she traded either with it or against it because she knew what was going to happen. That's why she got so filthy rich, was insider trading, given insider knowledge that not even corporate people would actually know at scale like Nancy Pelosi. Yeah, none of her family should be able to benefit from that shit. And they did, all the way to what Mutum is saying, the second cousin. But you know what would happen? Nancy Pelosi would go find out who the fuck her third cousin is and give him a call and say, you need to buy this shit and I want half of everything you make after 10 years. Because she's evil and she's corrupt and she's just a general scumbag. So there's no way to enforce it. But what you can do is term limits. God, we need term limits. They'll never vote for it, but we need term limits. And this is one of the things where it honestly should have been written in the Constitution that if a vote comes before the legislative branch on anything that has anything to do with the legislative branch, then it goes to a general election of the public. And the general public will then decide on the matter and not the legislative branch. What I'm saying is that this is a vote that the general public should actually have on the ballot. And if the general public says, you get 2 terms and you're done. That's it. You're done. And I would also add that your general family members, like all the way to your second cousin, are not allowed to run for a complete generation, if not 2 full generations, to make sure that not only are you dead, but that your family's influence is no longer anywhere close to Capitol Hill. That should be a general election issue. How to get it there? I have no idea. If you are a constitutional or legislative kind of lawyer, please get in touch with me. Wow, Mutum gave me another one. This one is 21,210 sats. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Donning the tinfoil hat, Trump seems to have a pattern of getting his enemies into a position where they are clamoring for something that they think will be his undoing. Think Epstein files. Trump kept saying there's nothing there, and it was fake news until they passed a law requiring the release. Not working out so well for the Democrats. I've always wondered if this was what was behind his and his family's entry into crypto. Make it appear that he's using his position to enrich himself via his family, just like Nancy Pelosi and others have done. Crank it to 11. Okay, this is the thing that I don't like about Fountain.fm. I should have read the other one first, but his second one comes up in the list first. It doesn't matter. You get the gist of what he's saying. I wonder about it too. And people will say, oh, Don's playing 5D chess. No, he's not. He's just playing politics. This is general 2D chess. A real two-dimensional chessboard, if you want to get into it, is actually checkers. If that's what, some people are playing checkers and other people are playing chess. But still, politics is generally chess. When you get into 3D chess and shit like that, that's different level. Don's not doing that. This is just general shit. But yeah, I'm actually pretty much agreeing with Mutum 8 over there. Nick Dose with 149 says, cheers, brother, and that's the weather report. Welcome to part 2 of the news that you can use. CZ rejects contradicting claims that Binance fired investigators after Iran-linked probe findings. Former Binance CEO Changpeng Zhao pushed back Friday against claims the crypto exchange dismissed internal investigators after they uncovered Iran-linked transaction activity on the platform, calling the report, quote, self-contradicting. Responding on X to a report published earlier in the day by Fortune magazine, Zhao said he was not familiar with the specifics, but argued the account did not add up. If the allegations were accurate, Zhao said, one could just as easily argue that those same investigators failed to prevent suspicious activity in the first place. I don't think the investigator's job is to actually ride the throttles there, CZ, but whatever. Zhao added that Binance runs transactions through multiple third-party anti-money laundering screening tools that are also used by law enforcement agencies. Quote, you could put a negative narrative on anything by talking to an anonymous source who is unhappy or paid to FUD, Zhao wrote. Fortune reported that members of Binance's investigations unit were dismissed after flagging activity involving Iranian-linked counterparties on the exchange. The transactions allegedly totaled more than $1 billion over roughly an 18-month time period and largely involved transfers of Tether's USDT stablecoin conducted on the Tron blockchain. According to the report, at least 5 investigators were fired starting in late 2025 after internally raising concerns. Several reportedly had law enforcement backgrounds and worked on sanctions evasion and counter-terror financing investigations within that exchange. Fortune then also reported claims that several senior compliance officials have exited in recent months as Binance searches for a successor to Chief Compliance Officer Noah Perlman, who is expected to leave later this year. The claims surface as Binance continues operating under compliance reforms agreed to as part of its 2023 settlement with U.S. authorities, in which the exchange pleaded guilty to anti-money laundering and sanctions violations and then agreed to pay $4.3 billion in penalties. Zhao stepped down as CEO, if you remember, and then served a 4-month prison sentence as part of the resolution, with Richard Tang taking over leadership of the exchange. The report also comes amid growing evidence that Iranian entities are increasingly turning to stablecoins to bypass banking restrictions. In January, blockchain analytics firm Elliptic reported that wallets linked to Iran's central bank accumulated more than $500 million in Tether, likely to support the country's currency and facilitate international trade outside traditional financial channels. Oh my God. Honestly, that doesn't really look all that good for Binance. But also, what's not said in this report is all the potential FUD, and I say potential because I don't know, that somehow or another Binance had something to do with the crash on October the 10th of the entire crypto market, which he vehemently denies. Him and Richard Tang both vehemently deny that Binance had any liquidity issues or whatever the FUD was. Yet this still doesn't look very good. Firing investigators that raise flags that there's serious issues going on with sanctioned countries, because Binance has to operate that way now. For years, they were thumbing their nose at U.S. authorities, and the long arm of the United States Department of Justice reached out and bitch slapped them. I mean, bitch slapped him. Now, except for the fact that 4 months in prison is pretty much nothing, right? And sure, you're only going to get 4 months if you can pony up $4.3 billion. Try that for average Joe on the street. No such luck. So, whatever. Okay, let's get back and talk about BlackRock a little bit. BlackRock says that a 1% crypto allocation in Asia could generate $2 trillion. Atlas21.com. Nicholas Peach, a BlackRock executive, stated during a panel at Consensus Hong Kong that even a small shift in Asian portfolio allocations toward cryptocurrencies could generate enormous flows for the digital asset market. According to statements reported by CoinDesk, if advisors recommended a simple 1% allocation to cryptocurrencies in standard Asian portfolios, it would translate to nearly $2 trillion of new capital entering the crypto space. Peach emphasized the scale of household wealth in the region, estimating approximately $108 trillion, that's trillion with a T, in total assets, and argued that modest adjustments in traditional investment models could have a disproportionate effect on crypto markets. The comments come as BlackRock continues to see strong demand for crypto exchange-traded funds, particularly through its iShares unit. The company's U.S.-listed spot Bitcoin ETF, IBIT, has grown rapidly since its January 2024 deployment and now holds nearly $53 billion in assets under management. Peach added that Asian investors have contributed significantly to flows in U.S.-listed crypto ETFs. Regulators and markets, including Hong Kong, Japan, and South Korea, are moving toward broader crypto ETF offerings, signaling growing institutional acceptance across Asia. It kind of sounds like he's running a flag up the pole that says Asia's coming in. Now, that's just a gut feeling. I have no idea what the hell Asia's going to do, and pretty much neither does this guy, Nicholas Peach. But the fact that he said it brings up two issues. One is he may know something and he's running a flag up the pole. Or he doesn't know a damn thing and he's just speculating so that people in the United States and the rest of the West will dump more money into the iShares ETF products. Who knows? We don't really know. It's like, but I always really kind of hate it when somebody says, well, if this conceptual, theoretical, hypothetical situation were to occur, then X would happen. Well, that is such a duh moment that I get it. However, I brought this to you because he did say it at a very large conference. I'm not a fan of Consensus, but it's huge. It's a huge conference. I don't think he was talking out of the side of his face, so we'll wait to see. What if Asia does that? What would that look like? 1% of $108 trillion of assets in the Asian market just flowing into crypto all of a sudden? See, that's why I keep saying we're going to live with shitcoins for the rest of our life. It doesn't mean love them. I don't. I hate them. I think they're worthless. But they're not going away. And they're just not going away. We can wish them away, but they're not going away ever. But at least Brazil seems to have some semblance of sanity. Brazil proposes national Bitcoin reserve and targets 1 million BTC over 5 years. Micah Zimmerman, writing for Bitcoin Magazine. Brazilian lawmakers have reintroduced a bill to create a national strategic sovereign Bitcoin reserve known as RESBIT, proposing the gradual acquisition of 1 million Bitcoin over the course of 5 years. The bill, presented by Federal Deputy Luiz Gustavo, outlines a comprehensive framework to integrate Bitcoin into the country's financial strategy and diversify national reserves. The proposed legislation establishes several guidelines for RESBIT. First, the plan calls for a gradual accumulation of at least 1 million Bitcoin over 5 years. It prohibits the sale of Bitcoin seized by Brazilian judicial authorities, ensuring that those assets remain within public control. The bill also allows for the collection of Brazil's federal taxes in Bitcoin and offers incentives for public companies to engage in Bitcoin mining as well as storage. Transparency is a central feature of the proposal. The bill mandates public disclosures of Resbit's Bitcoin holdings through internet-based platforms, enabling audit by the public. It emphasizes secure storage of digital assets using technologies such as cold wallets, multi-sig wallets, and other internationally recognized mechanisms. In addition, the legislation permits temporary holdings of spot ETFs backed by Bitcoin in the reserve portfolio, subject to urgent and limited circumstances. If approved, Brazil could join a small group of countries actively holding Bitcoin at the national level, potentially surpassing major holders like the United States and China. So Brazil is on deck. It should be interesting to see if it passes. And who knows? There's probably a Kalshi market for that. In fact, and the answer is no, Kalshi.com does not have a market up for whether or not the Resbit legislation will pass. Maybe it's just because it's way too freaking early. All right, France, and your warning to end our week. A Binance France CEO was targeted in failed home invasion near Paris, and 3 people have been arrested, according to Micah Zimmerman out of Bitcoin Magazine. David Prinquet, I think is how you pronounce it, chief executive of Binance France, was the target of a failed home invasion near Paris on February the 12th, according to French outlet RTL. 3 masked men forced entry into a residential building in Val-de-Marne during the early hours of the morning. Suspects entered the wrong apartment before reaching Prinquet's residence. The executive was not at home at the time, but the group took 2 mobile phones and left the building. Police believe the same suspects carried out a second break-in attempt later that morning in Vaucresson, west of Paris. Reports said that a resident was assaulted during the incident, which also appeared to involve an incorrect address. French authorities traced the stolen devices and reviewed surveillance footage to identify the suspects' movements. Investigators followed the group as they traveled by train toward Lyon. Officers from the Lyon BRI arrested the 3 men at Lyon Perrache station later that day. They were placed in custody while police continued their investigation. Well, the case involved coordination across several units, including Paris's anti-banditry brigade. They're bandits. Call the anti-banditry brigade. As well as departments in the Hauts-de-Seine, Val-de-Marne, and Yvelines, and I can't pronounce any of this shit, and transport police services, of course. The incident adds to growing concerns over attacks linked to cryptocurrency figures in France. The country has seen a rise in the so-called wrench attack, where criminals use threats of violence to obtain access to digital assets. Authorities have not released further details on possible motives or connections, and Binance hasn't said shit. Throughout 2025 and into this year, multiple kidnappings, ransom attempts, and home invasions were reported against crypto holders and entrepreneurs. And last year, a Hong Kong man was sentenced to 7 years in Canada for participating in a violent, sexually abusive home invasion that stole $1.6 million in Bitcoin from a British Columbia family. This shit's just out of control. And France is like the worst offender. It seems odd that there's so much of this going on in France. Most of the stories of home invasions or kidnappings or what have you are coming out of France. What the hell is going on in France that there is such a huge preponderance of this occurring in that country? I wish I could tell you. I just don't know. But yeah, it is what it is. All right, so Friday the 13th. By the way, tomorrow is Valentine's Day. This is going to be the first year in a very, very long time that I stopped treating Valentine's Day as something that's just kind of dumb and was just fabricated by Hallmark cards to sell, a brand new set of greeting cards, which it was. It was. This Valentine's Day is basically Hallmark's doing. If you go look at the history of Valentine's Day, the Hallmarks, get it, are all over it. Still. it is time to start thinking about the fact that maybe we just, for me, I'm just going to start thinking about it this way. I'm just going to give up the fact that it's some kind of childish notion and that I'm buying into some kind of marketing campaign. Fuck it, man. My wife is worth more than that. And she likes Valentine's Day. So I'm going to start treating Valentine's Day like it's Christmas. Well, maybe not with that many gifts and stuff like that, but I'm not going to just turn my nose up at it. So remember, tomorrow, Saturday, the 14th, is Valentine's Day. So whoever it is that you love, make sure you let them know at least that you do love them. And do it tomorrow on Valentine's Day. Buy them a card, buy them a gift, give them a massage, or whatever it is that you're going to do, right? But do that tomorrow on Valentine's Day, and possibly just put in your back pocket the fact that Hallmark created the whole holiday to sell cards. At this point, I don't give a shit anymore. I'll see you on the other side. This has been Bitcoin and I'm your host, David Bennett. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and hope to see you again real soon. Have a great day.